Welcome, everyone, to the Industry Cloud Platform What's New April 2026 release webinar. My name is Ray Chirole, and I will be your host today. We're hosting 3 sessions in this series, each organized by theme so it's easy to follow. In this segment, Data and Intelligence, we will cover GenAI, AI, Birst, GRC, Data Fabric, and EPM. Before we jump in, a quick disclaimer. This session is not a comprehensive release training. It is a high-level overview of what's new and what we think will be most useful. For full release training and deeper enablement content, please refer to Infor. Our target audience today is admins, developers, and super users, the people who work with these solutions every day. The goal is to give you a clear heads up on what's new and how you can apply it. Any presenter's references to plans, including timelines, features, or capabilities, are subject to change. The agenda's timings shown are approximate and are based on where we are in session today. Now, a few highlights, including our hackathon. In session 2, our focus shifts to integration and automation. You'll see updates and demos across API Gateway, BOSS, ION, IDP, RPA, and Notification Center, all centered on helping you connect systems more easily, automate work, and keep everything running smoothly and securely. Then in session 3, we move into UX and application development. That session will cover Mongoose, OS Portal, mobility, security/IFS, and health service, with updates aimed at improving the user experience, accelerating application development, and strengthening the foundation that supports it all. We're super excited. The Infor Hackathon is back in 2026, and we can't wait to do this again. Last year was a huge success. We had strong participation from our customers and partners. The energy was incredible, the ideas were bold, and the solutions people built were genuinely impressive. We selected winners across the tracks, and they didn't just walk away with bragging rights. They received prizes and were recognized live on stage at TechX in Orlando, Florida. Seeing those teams celebrated in front of the TechX audience was truly a highlight of the event. Now we're ready to raise the bar in 2026. And just so you don't miss it, registration opens May 1st and runs through June 1st, 2026. If you've been thinking about joining, now is the perfect time to start forming a team, brainstorm some ideas, and get ready to build something great. If you want to keep the momentum going after today, the Infor YouTube channel is a great resource. That's where we publish webinar recordings and short, product-focused sessions you can easily share with your teams. A few of the latest include how to leverage the power of OCR with IDP, getting started with Infor Mongoose, and managing APIs with API Gateway. Just scan the QR code on screen to check them out and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. The Infor Developer Portal is the place to go if you're building integrations, working with APIs, or extending your Infor environment. It's packed with documentation, API resources, guides, and tools that help you move from idea to implementation faster. And make sure you check out the developer tutorials. They're step-by-step, practical how-to guides designed to help you learn by doing. With clear instructions you can follow at your own pace and apply right away. We're also actively working on adding more tutorials, so you'll see new ones showing up soon. One last quick plug. The Infor developer community is the best place to connect with other developers, customers, partners, and product teams across the Infor ecosystem. It's where you can ask questions, share what you're building, learn from real-world use cases, and get answers faster than going it alone. And after today's session, it's also where we'll keep the conversation going, including posting follow-ups like Q&A and related resources in the appropriate product forums. If you're not already active there, I highly recommend jumping in. Let's kick things off with AI. In this first segment, you'll see what's new and the key updates you can start taking advantage of right away.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today. My name is Yasmina Fitaska, representing Infor Artificial Intelligence, the machine learning and optimization technology platform of Infor OS, through which you can create and deploy AI models to support decisions in scenarios like product or price recommendations, demand forecasting, inventory optimization, and lots of other business cases where our models support your decisioning efficiency. And today, I will walk you through a couple of feature highlights you can look forward to in our platform in April. First one is the recipe optimization solver we are incorporating in our standard catalog for fast deployment and immediate use in real-time scenarios. And the second is the GenAI integration for predictions explainability as a part of our AI advisor widget. Both enhancements address very common challenges we often hear about, using advanced optimization without heavy data science effort, and how to explain and trust AI model outputs. So let's look at what the recipe optimization model is solving. Many optimization problems in real life are much messier than those textbook examples, right? And especially when working on recipe formulations, you're not just choosing ingredients, you're basically choosing between multiple options of substitute raw materials. Each have their different availability and supply limitations. Then you have the cost, the nutrient composition, and many other attributes that can come into play. So reconciling all these into an optimum is understandably a major challenge. And this is exactly why the recipe optimization solver is designed to address. What's very important here is the accessibility convenience. This model is now a part of our standard catalog in optimization, which means you can deploy it quickly into production workflows without building a custom model or any kind of complex configurations requiring deep data science expertise. How this model operates is at the ingredient option level. So each option carries its own cost, availability, ranking, and those nutrients values and whatnot. So the solver, once provided with this information, calculates and proposes the best combination at the lowest cost based on realistic options and the required ingredient balance for the final product. The result you will then receive from this model will outline accurate formulation suggestion that complies to your constraints, allowing for faster decision making because those trade-offs between cost and nutrition values are explicitly presented to you. Support for this model deployment for real-time invocation, as I said, is provided through the fast track quest in the optimization modules. And the real-time mode practically allows you to try out and simulate combinations of various ingredients within milliseconds. So the real-time nature of the model returns the result really fast. Therefore, it's extremely practical to consume this model in the research phases while you're exploring and fine-tuning your product recipe formulations. At the end of this presentation, I will be showing how simple it actually is to deploy this model and start using it in your consuming applications immediately through the REST API that gets exposed with it. Now moving to the second enhancement, which focuses on building trust in AI that we are addressing by embedding GenAI capabilities in our standard AI advisor widget. This widget is normally applied to surface machine learning predictions in the context of ERP screens, as you may already know. And starting with the premise that AI models are great at providing accurate predictions, but consumers oftentimes struggle to trust the accuracy and wonder why the model recommended this or that, or so to say, acting as a black box. And without context or explanation, it surely is difficult to trust the output, right? Especially when decisions have strong business impact. That's why with this release, we are introducing GenAI powered explanations wrapped as a part of the AI Advisor widget configuration. When model statistics are made available from the machine learning model training, GenAI is then able to interpret them and generate a human readable narrative explaining how the model arrived at a specific result. And turning those technical model reasonings into something business users can actually understand naturally brings certainty and confidence to them. So let's see these two features in action through a quick demo. me switch to the environment. We'll stay with the GenAI explainability and go back to the recipe model right after. So we'll use an example of a Dunning letter use case for classifying customer risk in invoice payments, telling us whether we need to react with sending out a formal payment notice to this particular customer. And this is how the endpoint looks like in the user interface of Infor AI. These are the details of the endpoint. Through the JSON message, here you're expected to provide an input payload like the customer number, final score for the periods, credit score, and some other parameters that are relevant for the customer and the model to provide the predictions. And you see this endpoint has a status active. That means it's ready to receive invocations and provide predictions. And I will move over to my workspace where I configured the AI Advisor widget. Let me show you what changed in the configuration of the standard widget that we provide. So first of all, the AI API is basically the API I was just showing you. That's the endpoint name specified here in this field. So the next thing that we're going to be looking at is this new configuration node called GenAI. So when this toggle is turned on as required for GenAI, users are able to define a prompt name, that's a Dunning letter explainability in our case, and specify the prompt, which will be static every time we're asking for explanations for this particular prediction endpoint. The same prompt will be used to invoke the GenAI endpoint to provide those explanations for the prediction that the model gave. In this case, you see the prompt is, what is the main reason to classify a customer as high, medium, or low risk for this prediction outcome? So we have a classification problem where the machine learning model is returning high, medium, or low risk for the customer. So let's go and test this configuration. I have some values here that are required for the input payload that we also saw in the endpoint details over there. Customer number, other numbers, periodical final score, and so on. All the fields are populated, and we're going to test the configuration. What is happening on the background now, the widget is invoking the machine learning endpoint, and we'll see the classification result in a second here. All right, so we have the classification from the machine learning model as low, but what does this low mean, right? Not every user that is a consumer of this machine learning prediction understands what low means. So let's go and click on the explain button, which will allow us to trigger the GenAI endpoint. And you see here the machine learning endpoint prediction, apart from containing the class as low, is also returning some kind of numbers. But what do these numbers mean, right? So we're going to click on the explain button, and in just a second here, we see the prediction explanation. So we know exactly how the machine learning model classifies the customers based on those parameters that we input. What does high risk or medium risk mean? What is low risk? And the distance analysis from the clusters. This is a clustering machine learning problem. So we have some distances explained here, how close this customer is to a certain cluster that the machine learning model is using for this classification. And what this means is that this customer represents minimal collection risk and should be prioritized for favorable payment terms, credit line increases, and so on. So that's how we understand so much more about this machine learning prediction with the help of GenAI. All right, so let's move over to the recipe optimization model that we were talking at the very beginning. I'm inside the Infor AI application where I will expand in the optimization module and open the quests. As I was mentioning before, the fast track mode for the optimization quest is exposing this model to be deployed directly from the catalog. So let's put a name here. All right, I will save. And the only thing I'm required to do next when selecting the model, now we have the custom algorithms. That's pretty standard. We've had that for already 6 months deployed as fast track for custom algorithms. But what we are now introducing is the recipe optimization that is selectable directly from the catalog. And once I put this on the canvas, I can see a description of what this model does. So it's a cost-effective recipe formulation model that meets specific nutritional ingredient constraints. However, I want to highlight that it's not only intended for food and beverage. There are a lot of other industries, manufacturing industries, where a combination of ingredients is required in the manufacturing processes that you can apply the very same model for those use cases as well. Apart from this short description, you can also go to the details of how this model is used, and you can find very extensive information on a lot of things that will be helpful for you to set up the environment and apply this model successfully to get the outputs that you're expecting. So what kind of use cases is covered? For example, now we are going to use it for orange juice blending, but other examples that we've applied with our customers, for example, we have metal blending, paint manufacturing, animal feed formulation, and so on. So if we go to the orange blending, we can see how these ingredient options are expected to be formulated, how they should be converted into the right units so the model can understand and get the scale, the right and correct scale of all the ingredients that you will be providing as possible options for a particular recipe. So let's go ahead and save this. So as you saw, I only added a name for the model. I drag and drop the recipe optimization model. I saved everything. And next thing I'm going to do is deploy the endpoint. If I expand here, I already see the endpoint is active. That means that it's exposed as a REST API. So we're going to go into the details. Okay. So we have the recipe, the juice recipe endpoint that we just deployed. And if you go to these details, you can clearly see a lot of examples of how this model needs to be set up and what's the expected input payload, how you should configure your ingredients and your ingredient options, the cost and the constraints that you want to apply. So all these are configurable and can easily be transformed into your consuming application through the REST API. So we're going to use this example payload, and just to illustrate, we have the yield, the ingredient parameters, that's our input, what's the ID of all those ingredients like water, citric acid, ascorbic acid, and so on. So all these can come into play for this particular recipe that we want to try out what's the optimum result for. And you saw how fast that was. In the results, the status description tells us that this recipe that we are getting as a recommended one is feasible and optimal. And we have a lot of other parameters that define what kind of trade-offs were performed in terms of better quality or whatever your requirements for this particular recipe, and what's the best amounts to apply to the actual recipe to get the optimal ingredients combination at the lowest cost. Yeah, and these are just a few of our exciting new features that are a part of Infor AI's April release. If you're interested in enablement or deeper training for these features, specific materials are also available on Infor. Thank you for your time today, and thank you for using Infor AI. We're excited to see how you will put these new capabilities into use. Thank you.
Up next is GenAI. In this segment, you'll see the latest enhancements and how they're being applied to make experiences smarter, safer, and more useful in real workflows.
Hello and welcome. I'm Natalia Ptaszek. I'm the product director responsible for our GenAI platform, part of Infor Industry Cloud Platform. Our GenAI platform is the generative AI platform which harvests the power of the large language model. As part of our GenAI platform, we are leveraging the foundational models, which are already pre-trained models, through the AWS Bedrock service. The GenAI platform supports multiple different use cases. Among them, you can find the features which are allowing us to generate the text, translate it, but also summarize it with the use of the large language model based on provided prompt, meaning instruction to the LLM, and the business content itself. The other use case with the GenAI, which the GenAI platform supports, is our GenAI assistant, the conversational user experience, allowing us to use the natural language, meaning the way we talk human to human, in order to retrieve the data coming from your ecosystem. And today we'll be looking into the features which enhance the experience of our GenAI embedded experience, so this direct access to the large language model, as well as the features which enhance the GenAI assistant itself. With that, let's get started. When working directly with the large language model, you need to master one skill, which is called prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is a craft of how you have to define an instruction to the large language model, which would generate an accurate and in line with your instruction output from it. And this is the most important skill which you have to really improve when working with the large language model. Before, as part of our GenAI platform, we provided the prompt playground, which was an internal IDE to test, to examine the prompts and compare the responses from multiple large language models at once. However, with the April release, we are replacing the prompt playground with something which we called the prompt catalog, which is not only allowing you to play with the large language model to test your different prompts, but also to save them and use them later on. So as mentioned, with the prompt playground, you are only able to create one prompt at a time and test it. Once you are done with that, the prompt would simply disappear. With the introduction of the prompt catalog, we are able to save it and access it later on. With the prompt catalog, you are able also to group the prompts which are created and provide them with specific types. Is it a summary, generation, or maybe a translation prompt? Inside of the tenant, in order to access the prompt catalog, go to our GenAI platform, part of the OS application. Here, in the navigation menu, select Prompt Catalog. And as you can see before, you could see here Prompt Playground. So as I was saying, Prompt Catalog replaced the Prompt Playground. In the overview screen, you can either start creating a new prompt by hitting the New Prompt button at the top, or you can access the already created prompts by going to a specific prompt tile and clicking the Open button. So today we won't be creating the prompt from the scratch, but I will open the already existing one to walk you through its configuration. So let's hit open. We're specifying and defining your prompt. First, you need to provide the name of the prompt as well as the description and select the permissions. You can select between private and public. Public, it means that it will be available to all the admins of GenAI. Private, it means that this prompt will be only accessible by you. You can also specify the logical ID for which applications or application you are actually defining the prompt, and also select the type. You can select between generation, summarization, and translation. You can also optionally provide the labels. You can think of them as tags to group the prompts together. Next, in the details screen, you would provide the prompt itself, so the instruction to LLM based on which the content will be generated. You can also define the dynamic variables. And in order to do that, you need to provide the double curly braces for a specific word. And then once done, you see the color is changing to blue, and then the Pelsin icon appears. While clicking on that, the side panel will open on the right-hand side, and you can specify the values for those dynamic variables. You can also specify the collection of those values. So either you start with creating a new collection, or you can use the existing already saved collection. I will use the already saved one. Just below the prompt input text, you can specify the large language model which you would like to use to generate the completion, so the response from the large language model. So here I will select the Claude Haiku 3, and the second one will be Claude Sonnet 4.5, so that I can compare the generated response. And then once everything is configured, I can hit the generate button to see the response coming from the large language model. Together with the generated response, you will see the number of the tokens which were used to generate the token, the response, as well as the response time itself. The big power of the prompts catalog is that you can save and manage your generated content, but still you're able to experiment with the large language model and compare their results. When coming back to the overview of the prompt catalog, I said you can either use the search prompt capability and search based on the name and description, or you can use the filtering capabilities. So you can filter by my prompts or other prompts, meaning the public ones, by the status, the category, meaning the type. Was it like the prompt meant for the text generation, summarization, translation? But you can also filter by the label. For instance, job description, which I created for my prompt. So with that, let's go further to the next features which we've released for the GenAI assistant. The GenAI assistant is our conversational user experience powered by the large language model for the natural language experience. Currently, the GenAI assistant is under the limited availability state, meaning that we are testing and trying out the GenAI assistant capabilities with our early adopters, a limited set of the customers, to provide us with the feedback before the GenAI assistant can go into the GA state, so the generally available state. The GenAI assistant is powered by the Infor Industry AI agents, which works as a sub-agent for our GenAI assistant and allows us to retrieve the data coming from your specific ecosystem. And with the April release, we've introduced some changes to the brain behind the GenAI assistant, which we call the supervisor agent. The supervisor agent is responsible for understanding the user intent and also orchestrating the tasks among the sub-agents, the Infor Industry AI agents, and craft the final response to the end user. As part of the April release, we enhanced its capabilities. We changed the underlying architecture of our supervisor agent by introducing the deep agent capabilities. With that, we enhanced the in-context memory, or in other words, in-session memory. We've also enhanced its capability of creating the real-time planning, so-called to-do list, as well as enhance the capability of delegating the tasks to the sub agents. Together with the introduction of the deep agent, we've also added the functionality which is called human in the loop. Human in the loop forces the GenAI system to stop the interaction and ask for explicit approval from the business user in order to continue the interaction. For instance, you don't want GenAI Assistant to go ahead and update specific records or even delete them within your system. Before doing that, you would like to end user to explicitly confirm the transaction before allowing GenAI Assistant to execute it. And this is what we call human in the loop. The other enhancement which came together with the deep agent introduction are the inline thoughts. Inline thoughts capability is allowing us to deep dive into the reasoning of our supervisor agent. It gives us the details on how the GenAI assistant understood and translated our intent, our prompt, and what were the underlying sub-agents which GenAI assistant invoked in order to craft the final response for us. So with that, let's jump back again to the tenant to see how the inline thoughts and human in the loop really works in practice. For that, I will open the GenAI assistant from the side panel. And as you will realize in the April release, we changed the place from where you are accessing the GenAI assistant. Previously, you were accessing it from the side panel, but with the April release, you're accessing the GenAI assistant from the upper right corner inside of your platform. I can also expand the screen of my GenAI assistant to take it over and start chatting with it. So I will ask my GenAI assistant to provide me with my user details profile. And as you can see, we changed the user experience also with the loading icon. And right away, we are also getting the response back from the GenAI assistant to tell us that it is working on executing our query. In order to see what it is doing in real time, I can expand the inline thoughts to see how it translated, how it understood my intent, and then see which exact agent and then tools were actually invoked to generate the final response. I can collapse it if I don't want to see such details and just look at the final generated response. Now I will go ahead and ask it to update my user language. And as I am executing the update transaction, I explicitly defined my underlying agent to ask for the permission before updating my language. And as you can see, the GenAI assistant stopped and asked for my approval or deny. So now I can hit the approve button. So the GenAI assistant can continue and update my language to Swedish. I can also expand again the inline thoughts to see exactly what it's doing, going deeper into the specific request and response of the tool. And then I can collapse it to see the finally generated response. Let's update the tenant itself to see if my language was updated. And as you can see, my language was updated to Swedish just by conversing with GenAI Assistant. If you want to learn more about the other features which we've introduced as part of our GenAI platform, I would like to encourage you to go to Concierge and look for the GenAI release highlights for April. There you will find all the features and enhancements introduced for our GenAI platform.
Up next is EPM. In this segment, you'll see what's new in the April release, including a few key updates and highlights that ties into GenAI.
Hello, and welcome to the Infor EPM April 2026 release highlights. I'm Hassan Ahmed, Senior Product Manager for Infor EPM, and I'm thrilled to walk you through some of the exciting innovations coming your way this April. This release brings powerful new enhancements that make planning, reporting, and analysis faster, smarter, and more connected than ever before. In today's session, I'll start with a quick overview of what's included in the April release. Then we'll jump right into the highlights, beginning with the overview of the reporting enhancements we made for the better user experience. Next, we will review some key highlights for ad hoc reporting, which includes some great features introduction like ad hoc charts, followed by GenAI experience with EPM. And finally, we'll dive in to our live applications showcase how you can use GenAI to ask questions using GenAI chat features in EPM, and also how you can create report quickly in financial reporting using our new GenAI features. There's a lot to cover, so let's just dive right into it. In the April release, we have tons of enhancements from financial reporting to financial consolidations, EPM framework, and some key GenAI features in EPM. I'm not going to go over with all of them, but let's start with the reporting, which is part of our financial reporting. In C-Suite Financial Reporting, user will now be able to customize KPIs, ensure every user from HR to finance sees only the metrics that matter to their specific role, simplifying user or role-based data matrix for user experience and reporting. In ad hoc reports, have introduced new custom action, which will now allow users to jump directly to an application studio report from the web ad hoc report. Next, we have enhanced ad hoc experience by introducing a new alphabetically ordered subset submenu using standardized naming, which is aligned with our application studio captions. Also, we added both value-based and attribute-based criteria for enhanced filtering. Well, copying Excel ad hoc will be easy now. We have added key enhancements in Excel integration. For example, ad hoc reports now be fully duplicated in Office integration from the Tools menu. This feature will now allow users to copy and paste ad hoc definitions within the same workbook or across workbook when the target cell is empty. Also, we have some great advanced ad hoc capabilities for all users. Introducing our new chart visualizations in Web Ad Hoc Report. Users can now generate visualizations directly from Web Ad Hoc. You will have now ability to visualize your data using bar chart, column chart, line chart, and donut pie chart. Lastly, one of the key exciting release I like to highlight is GenAI. Users will now have ability to use GenAI chat query in EPM applications, which means now with single prompt, you will now have ability to run analysis of your data. All you need to do is write prompt and let the agent take care of the rest. Note, I want to be very clear, some of the features in here are early adoption program, which means features like GenAI only available for early adoption. So please reach out to your account manager for further details. This is just the highlights for detail list of enhancements. Please review the release documents for all the release items for April. Well, without further ado, let's dive into our application and show you how our GenAI features works in EPM. Now, let's start with our new GenAI capabilities. I will show you how easily you're able to review your data for budget and actual with a simple prompt. Let me now open the GenAI chat box on the corner here. As you can see, there's a bubble right here called GenAI Assistance. Here, what we're going to do, we're going to review the actual and budget data for year 2024. So I'm going to write a prompt. I will say ask OLAP, give me summary of actual and budget data for assets in 2024 for financial reporting, and press enter. So as you can see in the Ask OLAP, what is doing today in April, before the April release, we would go into the system, create our web ad hoc analysis, create those columns and rows to understand those analyses, or open an Excel to understand those data. Now, just creating a quick prompt, as you can see, I just said, give me a summary of assets, budget data, actual budget data for 2024. This OLAP understood what it's looking for. It knows it's looking for 2024. It knows it's looking for prime application. It's going to the application, connecting to the reporting cube, reading the cube. As you can see, GLC main here. Again, I did not call about the cube name. I don't know my application name, but the AI agent figured out itself and looking into the data. You know it's an assets account. It's going to the assets account, finding the members, reading the values, and now giving those values to me. This whole process before um, before this would have taken, I would say, minutes. Now, as you can see, it took about pretty much in seconds. So as you can see, it's running this report. Um, there you go. It's found the year 2024. And it's looking, it says it's a typo. As you can see on the top, I have put 2022 204. I made a mistake, but the AI figured out this is a wrong. So it's trying to get those data right now with the correct year. Okay, it's writing the file. So it will tell me what's the intersection is, what is the year, what is the assets account, and obviously will give me a summary analysis of that account. Beautiful. As you can see, so it's nicely formatted where it says assets, total non-assets, total current assets, 2024, give me all this information, actual versus budget and the variances, and also give me the key findings, right? That's how intelligent it is to give you all your analysis in a simple natural prompt. Also from there you can go beyond, right? You have three other prompts to say, okay, what's next? If you want to see provide detailed breakdown of a non-current asset, you can click on it and it will give you that definitions. So now what we did here, we went over assets for 2024 financial reporting. Now I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to build this report using the AI. So I'm going to click on this web ad hoc, and here I'm going to say, instead of ask, I'm going to say build ad hoc report summary of assets for year 2024, actual and budget data with column variance. With, I would say, better variance column. All right. Similar, again, before this GenAI features, typical user would do and go into Excel integration or go into your web ad hoc. You'll click on that web ad hoc, you'll connect to the application, connect to the cube, and then start building this report. Web ad hoc will take approximately 10 to 15 minutes, or maybe if you're an expert, will take no more than 7 to 8 minutes. Now, with just a simple prompt, I just give the definitions what I want this GenAI to do, build a report for me from the financial reporting cube for assets for year 2024, actual budget, and give me a variance column. And look at what it's doing. It's going to the task, understood the task, getting into financial reporting cube, the same cube that we saw in the analysis, and then it's understanding the dimensions. It needs to go for assets account, went to the assets account, understood the version will be actual versus budget, and that there should be a new column that is a calculated member between actuals and budget, and it's created the slicer for me. When I close it, look at how easy it is. It created for me actual, budget, and the variance. That's how easy it is now in Infor EPM. It's great features in April that you should able to work on it and use it. Again, thank you very much for joining our sessions. And Ray, going back to you.
Next on the agenda is Birst. In this segment, you'll get a walkthrough of the new features included in the April release.
Hi everyone, I'm Mithavi Chaturvedi, Associate Product Manager for Birst, and thanks for joining me in today. Today I'll be walking you through all the new features that we have in this release. So let's get started. Okay, quickly before that, I'm gonna give you a quick overview of what Burst actually is. So Infor's cloud-based business intelligence platform. It helps organization bring together data from different sources to build dashboard and reports and make faster business decisions without complexity of traditional BI tools. On top of that, we have Cloud Suite Analytics, which is a pre-built analytics layer designed specifically for Cloud Suite customers. So instead of starting fresh, customers get ready-made foundation, which includes dashboards, reports, KPIs, and a data model built within with Burst. This helps team get value much faster while still giving them flexibility to customize and extend analytics according to their business needs. Okay, without any further delay, let's go through all the new features we have in this release. So the first one we have is search with AI. Finding the right report shouldn't feel like searching for a needle in a haystack. As your analytics environment grows, um, so does the number of reports and dashboards, right? I'm sure you must have hundreds or thousands of reports in your environment right now, and it becomes tough to figure out whether a report already exists, what it's called, where it's saved. Users spend a lot of time navigating from one folder to another, or even worse, they recreate something that already exists. Traditional search um, uh, relies purely on the exact keyword searches, whereas search with AI goes beyond that. It allows user to ask questions in natural language prompts. For example, show me the sales data, give me revenue by category. AI interprets the intent, not just the keywords. It analyzes the tags, the metadata, the catalog structure, and context, and give you the more relevant results, not just the exact keyword matches. Let's see how search with AI works in Burst. Okay, this I am here at my space overview, and you see here this bar. I'm gonna go ahead and write where house, or I'm just gonna write where, and let's see what it gives me in written. So if you see here, I have written this keyword where, and it has given me all the results just that just matches with the keywords, right? What if what I'm looking here, I don't have that particular report which I want to work on. So I'm just gonna go ahead and write show me sales data, and search to AI, search, and click enter. So you see here, this is we have two type of searches here. The traditional search, which I was just showing you, and this is like our search with AI. So it has given me all the results that have some kind of sales data in it, and it has given me 36 kind of results that includes reports, dashboards, or collections. You see here there are four different types of filter. The first one is type. You can filter it on the basis of visualizer, reports, designer, collections, etc. You can even filter it out on the basis of date. You can when you build any visualization, you know about tags, right? You can filter out on the basis of tags as well. You also have relevancy and recent, so we can go ahead and experiment with that as well. And if you want to make sure that yeah, this is the report that I want to work on, so we have this preview option available here. Click on this preview option, you will get a preview of the report. Make sure that you want to work on this slide, you are very sure of that. And if you are like, yeah, that's the one I want to work with, click click here in view in visualizer, and it's going to redirect you to the visualizer. We also have this particular feature available in dashboard. So I'm going to quickly go to my dashboard, pull a good example, and you see here this magnifying glass. This is our search with AI. One thing to note here, we don't have traditional search here, we just have search with AI option. I'm going to put the same thing here, show me um, sorry, sales data. Oops. Okay. So as soon as I click enter, it gives me all the reports, dashboards, collection, same thing. And it also has all the four different filters that we just talked about. um, Even if you don't find your report here, you can go ahead and create a new report in visualizer. So if you click on it, you will be redirected to the visualizer. That's the first one. The second feature that we have is visualization builder, and that's a very impactful feature that we have in this release. So visualization builder allows you to create visualization by writing natural language prompts and create visualization in a much faster and easier way. um, Today, when you create a visualization, it requires a lot of manual steps to for a user to go through. For example, you need to select a particular field from default subject area, drag and drop the attributes, measures, select the correct chart type, configure sorting, filtering, and other properties, which becomes time consuming. And users just want to come and see quick insights, right, without these technical complexities. So we have introduced visualization builder, that is GenAI powered visualization creation. It allows users to enter a natural language prompt, and visualization builder interprets that prompt, um, gives you the correct measure and attribute, select the correct chart type for you, and automatically generates the visualization. You can still go ahead and modify the charts accordingly. It gives you full flexibility to do that. um, yeah, and uh, so the initial step that usually takes several steps, now they are configured in just few seconds. Let's see how you can create this visualization in Burst. Okay, this is what the screen looks like for visualization builder. I'm gonna go ahead and okay, we have this. So I'm gonna write visualize sales distribution across all product names for top selling products, and let's see what it gives me in return. You see this guy generating report with some pointers here. You can click on it to get the reasoning behind the output. So in the real time, it gives you what all the attributes and measures it's taking in account and selecting at the end, and what which chart it's selecting. So just give a minute or so. Yeah, so the report is generated, and like in few seconds, without even going through all the default subject areas, dragging and dropping measures, attributes, filtering, sorting, it's all done in few seconds, right? If you want to make further changes, just click on generate AI report, and you can again write your prompts and modify this particular chart. Yeah, that's all for the visualization builder. um, Last but not the least, we have top n and bottom n filtering. So currently top n behaves as first n. So what it basically do is, it will give you the n number of fields, rows basically, from your data set. With this filtering, we have introduced this particular top end and bottom end feature that's going to tell you the top performer and the worst performers from your data sets. You no longer need to do all the manual sorting, and the workarounds. You can just click the value, select the metric to rank by and the attribute to rank by, and you will get the best and the worst performers of your data set. So I'm just going to quickly show you how you can do that. Okay. Oh, that's not a good example. Let me grab another chart. Uh, okay, yeah, that one. Okay, cool. So you have this top end results. You can see you have multiple values here, and I'm just gonna keep. I need top five. I can select the metric to rank by and even the attribute and hit apply. And as soon as I do that, I'll get the top five performers from the data set. And even if I want to know like what are the worst performers, so I'll go here, sales again, same, and here you go. I will get the worst performers from my data set. Yeah, that's how easy it is, and that's all with this release. I hope to see you in the next one, and thanks again for joining in today. um Over to you, Raymond. Thank you.
Coming up is GRC. In this segment, you'll get a quick overview of what GRC is, followed by the new enhancements included in this release.
Hello everyone, my name is Nikit Lodi, and in today's session, we'll be looking into the new enhancements that have been delivered as a part of Info GRC. So we'll start with the first question: what is Info GRC? So Info GRC is a governance, risk, and compliance platform that allows you to perform automatic audits. So basically, you can capture the data and identify violations. So you can identify the business risk, and you'll have a way to mitigate your violations and have a way to get the reports that you need for audit at any point in time. So there is a list of enhancements that we have published and it's part of the slide deck, but we don't need to go through each of the line items line by line. So there is a separate video that I've created, which is available in campus, that you can refer to, where we have a detailed presentation on all of these topics. Some of the integration updates that I wanted to share, that will be available with the April release. So we have a new data fabric based integration that we have made available with InfoGRC, and that allows you to have a new integration with the existing LN application. And there is again a presentation available for that. We have a new integration with the CSD application, which is again limited availability, and you can also opt in for early adopter program if you want to sign up for any of these integrations, and we'll be happy to connect with you. And similarly, for the landmark or the FSM and the HR applications, we have a new insight that is available to monitor the audit data. So again, this is also something which is limited availability and ready for early adopters. And along with that, we have introduced a new feature in InfoGRC, which is called the AI-based anomaly detection insight. And we'll be diving deep into this topic, and we'll also be looking into this. So, as a part of this particular use case, we have two use cases that we are going to be delivering as a part of the April release. So, the first one is for XM for identifying suspicious vendor, and the second one, which we'll be looking at today, is how a duplicate purchase order can be identified using the power of machine learning. So let me give a little bit of background about that. So I'm not going to go into the modules one by one, but in today's presentation, we are focusing on the second layer, which is the process transaction and master data monitoring. So we already have pre-shipped rules that can monitor your procure to pay, order to cash, and general ledger. And then we have the HR payroll and the watch list insight. And then we have the inventory. And all of this is monitored with the current rule based engine. But there are certain limitations that you would face when you have the rule based engine. So, to overcome that limitation, what we have added is another layer for the transaction and master data monitoring, which is called the AI powered fraud detection engine. So, what this does essentially is we predefine a certain use case as a part of the machine learning model, and then the result is published to data fabric, and from there it is made available in info grc, and from there the users can take action on the violations, and then you can mitigate and take certain corrective actions as a part of mitigating those violations that have been identified. So, what are certain benefits of the AI powered fraud detection? So, essentially, there are certain patterns that can be easily detected by leveraging the machine learning capabilities. So, identifying the complex patterns and the relationship is much easier if you're leveraging AI. And then we also have the feature of behavioral anomaly detection. So some of the things that you cannot detect with traditional rules, you can leverage the power of AI to identify behavioral anomaly, especially in context to fraud and financial data. Similarly, we can establish some kind of cross identity relationship between the vendor's account and users, which is not very simple when you are trying to establish and try to build a cross entity rule. So it's much easier with the AI powered fraud detection. We can add an element of risk scoring. So once we have performed an analysis using AI, we can also add another layer of scoring the risk, so that when you are looking at the end result, you have some information that will help you decide how soon or how quickly you need to particularly mitigate a specific risk, looking at the risk score. And then there is also an element of detecting multiple step fraud as a part of this process. So if we are right now focusing on a specific process, then because of the detection of multiple step fraud, we can leverage AI to cover that aspect as well. So with that, we can now jump into the specific use case that we'll be looking at as a part of this session, which is identifying a duplicate purchase order using machine learning. So essentially, we have a rule-based method to identify duplicate purchase order, and we are leveraging some of the technologies there. However, it does have some kind of challenges when it comes to date range or in terms of numeric variations. So it's not very easy to identify when it comes to those kind of data elements. It is much easier to identify a duplicate purchase order based on textual fields. So, for overcoming that limitation, we are now leveraging AI and machine learning capability. So, we can see a flow diagram at the on the right hand side of the screen, but we don't need to kind of dive deep into it. What it is doing in a nutshell is it will capture all of the purchase order information that is coming in from the ERP application. So, let's say M3 is publishing all the PO data into data fabric, and that becomes an input for the machine learning model. It will pick up all of that data, and then it will start to scan for similar looking purchase orders. And that is what the first step is, where we are leveraging the TF-IDF method for identifying similar patterns. And then we go a step further to narrow down the closest matches, which is what the top K method does. And then we engage a smart model or a more enhanced XG boost engine to analyze further in detail of all of these narrowed down records to really identify the true duplicates. Then there are a step which is basically of matching certain rules or some of the true checks to identify the typical values like the PO value, the vendor name, and all of that. So there are some rules that have been built in which will be running on top of the XG boost. And eventually we'll be able to identify the duplicates with the scoring and all the parameters that are coming out as a part of the machine learning model. and this output would be published to data fabric, and that is where grc will pick it up from. So now let me switch into a tenant and I'll show you what are the steps involved and what this looks like in action. Right, so now I am logged in one of our internal tenants, and let me start from the basics where how this starts. So we have this quest that will be created. It is a pre-shipped quest that we are working with the teams to create, and we also want a easier way to deploy this in your environment. So what we need you to do is go into settings and then go to configurations, and then we have created a page from where the administrators can enable this particular feature, which is called feature management. And within the feature management page, there is a tab that says anomaly use cases. So right now on this tenant, you're only seeing the duplicate PO use case, but there can be additional use cases as well that can be configured, and they will be made available on the same page. And the intention is that you can go to this page and you can click on the enable button, and that will start deploying the artifacts in the machine learning platform, or basically the artificial intelligence platform in Infor. And that is the first step of this entire process, and then you'll see more and more use cases that can be enabled from this page. So then what that will do is, now when you navigate into artificial intelligence, you'll see that the data elements have been mapped, and then you'll also notice that under machine learning and quest, there will be a particular quest that will be created. So in this case, there is a deduplication quest that is created, and that is the one that we need to leverage. And if I click on this, you will see that there are quite a few steps that I talked about as a part of the slide deck, which are covered as a part of this quest. Right, so let's give it a minute and it should load the information. Yep, so we can see that all the steps that I talked about are covered, and the final step is about pushing this data into data fabric. So that is where the data set is going to be published to data fabric. So now I can go into data fabric, and I will see that there is a object that is published. And what we from the grc team have done is we have used that object that is published from the artificial intelligence quest, and we are using that to create a compass view. And this is the compass view that grc will be pointing to, and that is what will be used to get the data into grc. So now let me navigate to the compass ui, and here I have created the view. So that's the view that we need, which contains all the information about the duplicate purchase orders, and that is what is going to be extracted into grc. So now I'll switch back to grc, and I'll show you the next step. So what we need to now do is go into manage, and then go into monitored application and application instances, so that we can define a way to map that view into grc. So I have already created this application instance, which is pointing to that specific data fabric view. So let's give it a minute, and you can see that this is for the anomaly detection insight, and it is pointing to the same view that we looked at in data fabric. And then now let me show you the final result. So for that, let's navigate to monitor, and then we go to the violations page. And now let me switch the control type to the machine learning based controls, and let me also pick the insight, which is the anomaly detection insight. And these are the results. So it's a sample set published out of the machine learning model that we've got here. And then what I can do now is let's drill down on one of the examples, and let's take a quick look at how the violations look like. So this is a typical duplicate purchase order. You can see that the supplier party name is exactly the same, the date is exactly the same, most of the information is same, and that is what is highlighted as a part of the match. So if it is within range, or if it is something that was detected as something very close, like a 95% match, so that is what is shown here as range. And whatever is an exact match is highlighted as a match, as exact match. And you can see every element is compared here, so it is not just the text, but we are also easily able to compare the dates, the quantities, even if they are similar. So in this case it's an exact match, but if it was similar or close, it would still identify that and show it as a range. And that's how the violation information is captured. And then as an end user or a business owner, you can basically assign this violation to somebody. If you are not aware of the full context, you can discuss it with somebody. You can download the violation information for further investigation, or you can take the mitigation action. So as a part of the mitigation action, if you know what needs to be done, you can basically provide the information around that. You can also trigger ion workflow as a part of the mitigation step, which will automatically perform some correction step, or maybe create a notification, or basically an alert, or whatever you need. So that's how the mitigation actions can be triggered, and eventually the violation can be closed. So this is what we had, which is the important and innovative enhancement that is delivered as a part of the April release. And there'll be a lot more of these kind that will be delivered as a part of the AI based fraud detection. So with that, we can conclude the session. Thank you.
Now we'll hear about IPI. In this segment, you'll get a walkthrough of what's new in the latest release and the key enhancements being introduced.
Great, thank you, Ray, for having me. Let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Thomas, and I'm the product manager for process mining, which is part of the Infor Process Intelligence application. And I have 4 very cool features in store to show you for the 2026-04 release. So let's dive right into these. First, I will do some slides, but then everybody's excited for the live demo, I hope. One of the main features we introduced with this release is the interactive process advisor, which is using the Infor chat assistant, the Infor GenAI chat assistant, that becomes a limited availability feature in the April 26th release. So early adopter customers for the chat assistant can also use the process mining interactive advisor. And what it is, it's a chat interface, a chat assistant, which helps you analyze your process. So if you look at traditional process mining analysis, it might be very complex, time-consuming, and requires specialized business expertise to know which kind of widgets, which kind of configurations, and which filters to use. So the assistant helps you to make all that much easier by just asking, like, what's my main bottleneck in my process? What are the main drivers for non-conformance? Which supplier has the worst performance overall? These things are just one question away, and it really accelerates how you can discover the insights and how you can get value from the insights analysis. The next feature we introduced is color coding for objects in the Process and Variant Explorer. So imagine a complex process scenario where you're looking at an order to cash process. So you're selling some goods, but some of these goods are from a reseller, so you procure them when a customer puts in the order. And some of the goods might require you to manufacture the goods first. So a customer order might trigger a job order. So you're looking at potentially 100, 150 different events inside one big visualization in that Process Explorer. And we introduced color coding, which you can do for processes. So you could say order to cash gets color red, procure to pay is blue, and production is green, for example. But you can also go down to the individual object level and look at, for example, payments in red, customer order activities in yellow, basically giving you full flexibility there. And that really gives you a better view at first glance. You look at that process, and with proper color coding, you already see what's going on. So that's a big improvement to what we previously had. A third feature, which is very good, especially for power users, but also we will introduce it and include it in our standard content, is the formula. Because previously you were not really able to build complex calculations like cost calculations or ratio-based measurements, right? That was restricted, even though you had all the parts, bits and pieces there, like process metrics, attributes, or constants. So now what we did is we introduced a formula editor, and I will show that in the live demo in a second, where you can build your own KPIs and metrics by combining what is already there. You can combine metrics that are already created by you, event level metrics. You can create, you can use attributes from your data set. You can use free input fields and operators and basically tailor fully complex formulas that answer specific business questions for you. And last but not least, we introduced a new conformance violation type for missing events. So that helps you and gives you more tools to look at conformance violations in more detail. Previously, the rules were limited in that regard, that you could only look at a conformance violation through the lens of a wrong start or end event or a wrong sequence of events. But consider the case where all the events are conforming in your case, all the sequences are right, but something is missing, something like an inspection or something like a secondary approval is missing from your case. You wouldn't be able to capture that with previous conformance violation types, but you are with the missing event conformance violation type, right? And by being able to capture these missing events, you just get a more comprehensive and tailored view of process conformance. And now let me move over into a live demo and close the slides. So let me pull over this here from the side. And let me make that full screen. And what we are looking at is a standard process mining insight. This is for that order to cash with production example that I talked about. And you see there is a lot of information in here, all these sub-process event level metrics telling you, for example, 2,600 cases went through this specific leg of the process, sales order to purchase order, and it took on average 22 days, 6 hours. There's so many pages here as well, which give you valuable information, like what are my main conforming and non-conforming events, and then also much more pages looking at multi-site analysis, looking at specific attributes or benchmark analysis. So I want to show how to use the interactive advisor in that example. Here we see something that strikes the eye immediately, which is 2 events really drive non-conforming cases up. And these are the events for change quantity and change price, right? And they have nearly the same count, and 7.5% of all cases have these events, which is quite a lot. So how you would access the interactive advisor is through this button in the top right corner. That will bring up the window with the GenAI assistant. And if it's a fresh session, you will see it's a blank canvas. You can ask anything. And this works across applications in the Cloud Suite, right? So you might ask something unrelated to process mining, but we have built an agent for process mining that is looking for specific keywords like throughput times, cycle times, process mining. So asking a question in that direction will make sure we get the right agent to pull up. And yeah, just to show from a previous chat, just like the chat history, because we are pressed on time here, let's see how I use that, right? So I was seeing this 31,000 cases with these 2 events. And basically I was asking, from that event list, I see that the quantity and price changes are my main non-conformance drivers. What are common patterns that lead to that? And then after some analysis, I get very good insights. So I get a scale. It tells me that there is all these cases here, 6,000 cases overall with these events, and they have 100% overlap, right? So every case with a quantity change also has the price change. And there's a lot of events in these affected cases. So the key finding right away is these 2 events are not independent. And without the advisor, I really wouldn't be able to do that, right? I'd need to apply a lot of filters and try to lay the data sets over each other to identify that. And this is just giving me that and telling me that typically between these two events, there is only a 2 millisecond gap, which means they come as one event from the system, right? So probably it makes sense to figure out what happens there and why it impacts both these values. Then you remember from my question, I asked about patterns. So typical pattern is after entering a customer order line, I do the changes. And it's either one change or 3 or 5. These are the 3 main variants that we've seen with number of cases specifically. But then also there is the other way where the customer order line was already released and then the changes took place. And this is even worse because it's released downstream. The ERP is already planning with the values of the customer order line. And now prices, quantities, values are changing, which is not good for our planning. It leads to much more rework. Some more breakdown that we see here is, for example, the Dallas facility is accounting for most of these. And then there are specific items that cause that. Change price and change quantity. And also there is one peak month. So in August 2024, we see that 1/3 of all the cases, 2,200 cases, have shown up with this. And then some more root cause hypothesis that the system is bringing up, and eventually a recommended action plan. So for example, figure out why there is changes after shipment. These are the worst, right? The ones after entering the customer order line, okay, it's just inefficient. After it's already released, okay, that is worse. But after it's shipped, changing quantities, changing prices, that's really bad from a process perspective. And then as one site is the main driver in this, the system and the assistant is suggesting to check out the order entry practices. So that was just a quick demo of how this works. And I could just ask follow-up questions now. I can ask completely separate questions. Everything that looks interesting about my insight and I can't quite make sense of it, I get the analysis right at my fingertips here. Okay, let me move over to the second use case, which is the color coding. So again, let me turn that into full screen. And you see this example here, if I bring up all the events in my insight, it's just a lot of black nodes, black lines, and I don't quite see how it's all connected. So let me just go to the settings menu here and apply some very basic color coding. For example, everything related to customer orders, I will make red. And everything related to jobs and job operations, I will make blue, right? Could be same color, could be a slightly different color. Reapply. So you see customer order and customer order line events happen right here in the beginning. The next big slice of events I'm bringing in is all from the production process. It's the job order, creation, operations, and closing it. And then bringing more events in, we see there is the quantity and price changes we've talked about, right? So immediately, if I bring all of this in, there is much more clarity. I see the whole of the events here on the right are all production and job order related and some change events from the customer orders. And there is more patterns here for procurement and for the invoicing. So I could also color code these. Now, moving on to the third use case. Again, let me pull this over from that side, make this full screen. I wanted to look at the formula feature, right? So let's do something very basic. Let's go to the event level metrics and let's build a formula for cycle time. And we want to know how long it takes from requisition creation to requisition approval. Basically tells us how long is our approval time. So let's do first occurrence of requisition creation to last occurrence of approval of the requisition. And then let's do a formula. And there is more in-depth training on this on Infor Campus that you'll be able to see. But let's take this and let's build a formula. Let's just put a cost to it, right? So rec approval cost. And the result is going to be a number. There is more result types available, like ratio, like cycle times, which I've mentioned. There are specific use cases for these. And now I'm able to just pick and choose from available data. So I can pick the requisition creation to rec approval cycle time I just created. I put it into the formula, and then I can multiply that with an hourly rate of, for example, 70 US dollar, right? Blended rate, 70 US dollar. So I can save that. And now I have these two values. Let me bring it up. Let me see how that looks like. So the requisition approval cycle time looks like this. On average, 4 days, 22 hours. And the cost I can put to that, cost with the suffix of, with the prefix of US dollars, looking like this. No, it doesn't. Okay, we'll just do it like this. So basically I see that these 4 days, 22 hours on average for potentially 9, 10 cases, I would need to check in my data set. But this is the cost associated to that, because I convert this into hours. I multiply it by the number of cases, and then the sum of that is going to be 75,000 US dollars is the cost I have just for approving my requisition. So that's giving me good information and good visibility into where I spend the money and the time inside my process. And then let me bring up the fourth use case, which will be the conformance violation type. And I have already pre-assembled that. It looks like this. A conformance violation can be created just next to the event level metrics. The look and feel is pretty similar, and a new violation can be added from the available types. I mentioned before we have incorrect sequence and start and end, and there is the new missing event type. So basically I configure that to say all cases are considered non-conforming that have a match invoice event, but that are missing the invoice creation from template event. Right? Could be that the company is enforcing invoices to be created from template. So if you don't see that event, but you see somebody's matching an invoice, it means an invoice moved through the system without being created from the template, which is what is considered as non-conforming in this company. And how that shows is very simply, all the events in this short case here are conforming. You see all of them are blue and properly highlighted. But this one here, create invoice from template, is missing. It's just skipped. So we see an indicator at the very beginning, and it says there is a missing event in this case. It's telling us what the violation name is and how it came to be. So it says match invoices are happening, but we don't see that create invoice with template event. And this is how that conformance violation is shown. And with that, back to you, Ray. Thank you.
To wrap up today's session, we're switching gears to Data Fabric. In this final segment, you'll get a quick overview, followed by the new features included in this release.
So hello everyone, I'm Unnikrishnan Nambiar. I'm a product manager associate for Data Fabric team. So let's talk about what's new that we are planning for 26.4 release. And talking about Data Fabric, for any organization to make data-driven and timely decision, the data platform is a catalyst with broad spectrum of tools that empower customers with flexibility to leverage data in more suitable way for their business. So in this release, we have focused on key areas like visibility, control, and data readiness. So as real world is progressing mostly towards AI agents and automations, data is going to play a key role, and Data Fabric will be supporting that. So Data Fabric is a powerful cloud data platform that helps organization to connect, integrate, and analyze their data for every Infor application and from various sources in real time. So with comprehensive tools for large scale data storage, querying, and processing, it allows you to manage all your data across diverse industries. So basically, Data Fabric allows you to do multiple activities related to data starting from storage, management, metadata management, and security based features are all supported through data fabric, and all the data that is there in multiple fragmented sources can be brought under one umbrella for multiple use cases and features. So data fabric supports all these data based features. So in this release, we have mostly focused on visibility control and data, and we have multiple modules inside data fabric like stream pipelines, compass, metagraph, security, data ledger, and data lake. And we have features in all of these components. To understand more about this, you can go to InfoU. While we will be focusing more today in the session about stream pipelines, compass UI, and security. Basically, auditing and security, how auditing and security is important. So once again, if you would like to learn more about these features, do visit Infor and you will understand more about these features. And if you have any feedbacks or would like to know more about it, do let us know. So talking about stream pipelines. So stream pipelines is a feature within data fabric that provides real-time streaming data processing and delivery capabilities. So consider you have a data in your source and you have a data, you need that data in your destination. So stream pipelines helps you in moving that data from source to destination. So it will help it helps customers to easily deploy and operate push-based data pipelines. It also offers live monitoring and so that the data that you transfer is reliable and is we can do it more efficiently. So for this release, the feature that we have brought up is transformation function. So we know that when we push data from source to destination, sometimes we need some transformation that has to be made. And I'm sure that every customer must have thought rather than having to move or work after the data has reached destination to work again on it is a bit difficult. Considering that we have bought a feature that will help you make this transformations through stream pipelines itself. Now you don't have to go outside data fabric. You can do the transformation functions directly inside data fabric. So stream pipelines now support transformation functions so that no downstream processing is needed. Functions like date and datetime conversion, concatenation can be directly done through stream pipelines transformation functions. So as this will also benefit users in having a consistent schema-ready data at ingestion time. It will eliminate downstream transformation work. It also supports flexible data modeling, composite identifiers, display fields, and time-based values are shaped within the pipeline without modifying the source schemas. So this helps in reducing the complexity in each pipeline and post-processing effort. This accelerates analytics readiness and improves overall data quality. So as we are already adding multiple functions inside transformations, stream pipelines transformations, we may need a canvas that will support all this. So initially or previously, we used to have a canvas where we can see all this function on a single view. But now the transformations or the pipelines can be so long that we may have to drag and move the canvas. So understanding that we have solved this problem by using a drag and drop interaction inside the modular canvas to easily place, move, and rearrange pipeline components visually. So this makes pipeline design faster and more initiative, and this reduces modeling effort. And this also helps us build and iterate on stream pipelines with greater efficiency and confidence. So let me take you to the demo of this. So here I have already created a stream pipeline. And you can see that this is the data object. This was dragged and dropped into this canvas. And here I have selected a table named MITMAS. Most of the M3 customers should be able to identify MITMAS. Similarly, you can bring up any object that's there in that can be used. So there are multiple object properties inside MITMAS. So now I can close this one and show you how functions are made. So just a minute, let me refresh it. So yeah, this is the function. So here I have already created 3 functions. I will take you to each one of them. So here you can say I can select the parameters, I can select the object property, and I can decide this also show which type the parameter should be. So if I click on the I button here, I can get more information. I can also see which property has to be changed. And all of this is now non-editable because already the pipeline is running. And similarly, this function will help you in converting date time into a standard date time format. So I will show you in real time. Similarly, there's a function which helps you to convert the dates, and there's another function which helps you in concatenating. So all these transformation functions we use to do it after the data is reached inside destination. So post processing work has to be done. So you can also test your input property here. You can give how it should be and what the output value will be. So you can see that I've given a hyphen inside this parameter. So there is, this is how the concatenation will work. So now you can verify that the test will work. This is the same with convert to date time. You can give an input value, you can see an output value. Similarly for date time too. So I have already added these functions. Now I have to select the properties, which all properties that I need to see in destination. I have selected the properties here. For example, see here, I can see company number, CO, NO, IT, NO, ITDS, FUDS, all these functions I can see in the destination directly. And I have named a table, it's mask AF demo, and in this table you can see all these changes are being made. So how this is going to work, I can save this pipeline here using this button, and once this pipeline is saved, I can do an initial load. And this is how you can do an initial load. You can select all this data, you can click on run, and an initial load process will start. You can stop your function here, not just function, your stream pipeline here. You can save it here. You can know more information about your stream pipeline here, and you can refresh using this button. Now let's go to the database and check how it is going to work. So this is a SQL query, and once I click on run, this query will be running. So, and I can see all the data here. So I will show you how the changes will be. So you can see that ITDS, I have a data named this, and FUDS, I have data named this. And item is the new property that I created. And how concatenation works is both this data has been combined along with the extra property that I gave inside this item. So you can see that the hyphen is not there with any of this, and this hyphen can be seen here. So similarly, how concatenation works in any programming language, here too concatenation can be done. And when it comes to LMTS and LMDT, you can see how few numbers were changed into time format that anyone can understand. Similarly with the date. So this is the first part of the demo, and this is the demo for the first feature. And now let's get into the next features. So talking about data fabric auditing. So data fabric auditing is a governance capability that tracks and records important actions within data fabric. So this helps in transparency. The visibility of what action was done by any of the users can be seen through data fabric auditing. Any security activity without auditing is incomplete. Knowing who has access is not enough. You can not track what they did with it. So data fabric auditing will help you close this gap by ensuring this change to security profiles is recorded. So this makes it possible to detect unauthorized or accidental permission changes so that you can revert back to it. And going forward, as explainability in AI is important, all the small activities that are being made inside each of these components has to be recorded. And data fabric auditing is a component that supports this and supports the vision of data fabric being a futuristic platform. So talking about the problem, organizations managing data through data fabric had no visibility into changes made to their security profiles. So there was no way to track who modified permissions, when changes occurred, or what was altered, making compliance check, security investigations, and troubleshooting very slow and unreliable. So the solution to this was data fabric auditing integrates with Infor OS auditing and monitoring service to capture and log security profile actions. Through a centralized audit configuration page, administrators select which actions to audit. So the actions that we right now support are create, update, delete, view, import, or export. Every selected action generates a detailed log entry capturing the user action type, outcome, and before or after state. So this cover both UI and API driven changes. How this will benefit? So this will reduce the storage cost and eliminate the rigid structure constraint by selecting only the columns that matter. The less time can be spent on rewriting the queries. So this will also benefit in visibility that can be provided to. So let me show you a demo how this feature works. So this is the audit configuration page. In this page, you can see that I can select which all security profile actions I need to log. So I can select create, view, change, delete. I can select two of this, import and export, or else let me select create and change. I can turn off import too. I can save this configuration here. I can refresh it here. I can I can import a security configuration directly. Once I click on import, a new pop-up window is opened, and this pop-up window helps me import a JSON file. This will help me directly import a configuration rather than making any changes inside here. Similarly, I can also export the configuration that I have now using this button. So I will get a downloadable file and then I can use that. Now, where I can see this. So I can go to Infor OS security page, and here I can navigate. Once I reach the overview page, I can navigate into auditing and monitoring and audit event search. For all these activities, you will need to have permissions. So once I am in audit event search, I can see, I can specify the date and time range. I can specify the logical ID, entity type, audit transaction, and entity ID. So once that's done, I can click on search, and here I can see what changes were made. So I can click on this specific event and I can see what changes were made here. I can see a before after update. I can understand which tenant this change was made, which session ID this is, and which entity type or entity ID, and what was the outcome. All these details are visible now. So once again, data fabric auditing now supports visibility. This helps users in making auditing and security changes are more visible now. So users can go to a specific event and identify what's happening with it. So talking about the next feature, Compass. So we have a feature in Compass now, which helps you write queries using title metadata. So talking about Compass, Compass is a query and analytics tool built into Info Data Fabric. This tool enables users to connect and query data lake objects directly using ANSI SQL. It supports multiple data formats, including NDJSON, CSV, TSV, and PSV. This makes it flexible across different data sources and structures. Users can perform a wide range of activities from data analysis and exploration. So Compass is the tool that helps you access the data inside data lake. It also has a built-in query editor with features that help users write, refine, and validate queries efficiently. So this makes it the central tool for anyone working with data inside Data Fabric platform. Talking about the feature, so users need to possess high technical skills or need to know more technically about the data that they are working on. So technical skills were required for even querying and a strong understanding of data just to get insights into the organization's information. So the solution to this was enable user generate Compass SQL queries using titles metadata. It's a fact that you need to have this titles inside metadata for each object properties that you have, and the benefit with this is that this makes data querying accessible to non-technical users too by allowing them to use natural language instead of complex SQL syntax. So this empowers a broader range of employees to interact with data. So rather than having a larger technical knowledge or larger understanding about the data, users can now quickly adopt and use Compass directly using this and interact with the data more. So these were the features that we had, and I can show the demo for this Compass feature. So this is Compass, and here I have a particular object, and if I go to select option and select use titles, I can see how it is selected. So I can see the title ID is used for creating or generating the queries, and this can be directly used by any user who has an understanding with titles but not much understanding with the keywords that are being used. So this will help users widely adopt usage of Compass and SQL queries. So these are the features, and once again let me tell that you can go to InfoU for understanding more about the features. If you have any more feedback about any of the data fabric features that needs to be improved, do let us know. And thank you. Thank you. That's it for today. Back to you, Raymond.
Thanks everyone for joining us today for session 1 of our Industry Cloud Platform What's New April 2026 release series. We hope you found the updates useful and something you can apply. Please join us for our next session, Integration and Automation, on Tuesday, April 28th, 2026 at 11 a.m. Eastern. We'd love to have you there. Don't miss next month's webinar, Getting Started with AI. It's planned for late May on May 28th, and the exact time may change, so keep an eye out for the calendar invitation. Good night and have a pleasant tomorrow.